Hello everybody and welcome back to a Jacko the Soccer Bro video. I was going to do some wacky goofy intro like I have been doing recently. I was going to transition into me wearing the Eden sweatshirt because this is the Eden tier list video. But I've worn that thing for like the last 2-3 days straight. And I don't really feel like wearing it anymore, so you're stuck with the Jeremy Zucker summer hoodie. Pardon me, I know, it's like a cardinal offense. So yeah, like I said, I am doing a Eden tier list video, taking just about all of his music, starting back from the Eden Project days. I think it's mostly in order from all the way back in the day to most recent, in case you missed it. Let's get started. The tiers are, no. The skippers, the forgettable ones, the ones that they're alright, they're pretty enjoyable. I'll seek them out, I might not seek them out depending on the day. The top tier, I'll listen to these on repeat, they bang. And then the Lord Have Mercy section for ones that I just can never stop playing. Starting off with Drowning, coming out of Bipolar Paradise, Eden Project, all the way back in 2014, almost 10 years ago at this point. The first song on that album. And it's going up at it's the only song now, so it's going up in height. It's okay. I liked it a lot when I first started listening to Eden, because this was one of the first albums I heard. And I liked it a lot then, 2-3 years ago, but now not quite as much. Fumes, it's also but I think it's worse than Drowning. I honestly think Fumes is one of the worst ones out of Bipolar Paradise. But Jupiter, on the other hand, is going straight up into the Lord Have Mercy section, because I think this is my most listened to song of Eden's on Spotify. When was this? This would have been 2020, 2021. I listened to that thing non-stop. The strings section in there, it got me. I really liked this one back in the day, and I still do. Next up is Soul, and it's a skipper. If I'm listening to it in the album, then I'll listen to it straight through, but if it comes up outside of the album, I'm just listening to Eden stuff, I'll skip it. Nothing really too special about it. Next up, Man Down, second best out of the album. It's nowhere near as good as Jupiter, but it's definitely better than Drowning and Fumes, so it's going in the top tier for now. Still in the Eden Project days, we have Crazy in Love. I won't skip it if I hear it, but I don't really think about it ever, so it's going in the forgettable. We got a nice, well-rounded tier list so far, and that no section at the bottom, that is saved for one particular song that you will see in just a little bit of time, so don't go anywhere if you're curious what that's about. Next up, Times Like These, a very grandiose big band kind of sound. It's fun. It's a fun song. It's going in height, but I don't think it's better than Drowning or Fumes, so it'll stick there. Now we're out of the Eden Project days, we're into Eden, and his very first EP album, I'm not sure what this was End Credits. It starts off with 209, which, I realize now I'm missing a tier list. There's one more I wanted to add. We've got that tier added in, and it's interludes, so it's a bunch of ones that if you listen to it in the album, it makes sense, but outside of the album, it's just kind of whatever. It doesn't really do anything. And 209 is the first one that goes in there. It's a lot longer than the other ones I'm going to end up putting in this tier, but it still really feels like it just leads up into End Credits and doesn't really have much value on its own. It is nice to hear all the little samples that he uses throughout his stuff later on, but it's nothing too special. End Credits, on the other hand, that one's definitely in the enjoyable tier. I'm going to put it up above Fumes, but beneath Drowning in the height tier. I feel like height's a bad word for that. I'm gonna change that to enjoyable, just because height makes it sound like it's okay, but enjoyable makes it sound like it's nice, which it really is. That's what that tier is for. Gravity is up next. I hold it in a very similar regard to End Credits, but after being at one of the Eden shows in Chicago, I think this was like 2 weekends ago at this point. It was such a fun show. Gravity was one of the best songs he performed there live. The whole crowd knew it, the whole crowd of like 2,000 or something. It was packed in there. It was great. So for that, it's gonna go up above Drowning. If it wasn't for the live performance, I'd probably keep it in between Drowning and End Credits, but the live performance just makes it a little bit more special to me. Next up is Nocturne, and I think this one's better than Gravity, but once again, just barely. Almost all of End Credits I hold in a very similar tier to each other, so it's going to go in the top tier, because I definitely listened to that one on repeat for quite some time, but nowadays I don't really seek it out quite as much. Next up is Interlude, and you might think I'd put this one in Interlude because its name is Interlude, but it really does feel a lot more like a standalone song than 209. So it's going to go up in the enjoyable section because I vibed with it for quite some time, but out of this bunch, it's going to be at the bottom of it. Next is Wake Up. Has to be in the Lord Have Mercy section. This was, I think, the second song of his that I listened to. I was like, wow, I really like this sound. I'm going to keep trying to listen to this guy. It's so good. You should really listen to this one if you haven't listened to any of Eden's songs. Next up is Catch Me If You Can, and it's a skipper, in my opinion. When I think of end credits, I think of 209 down through Wake Up. I never think of Catch Me If You Can. It's never a song that pops in my head, so it's a skipper for me. Next is Billie Jean, and I said that no tier was reserved for one specific song, and that's Billie Jean. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Just leave it to Michael. Don't touch that one, okay? It wasn't good. I didn't like his rendition of it. So we just choose to forget about that one. Now we are moving on to his most popular album, I'd have to say, based on the concert and just what songs people knew more than the others. And I Think You Think Too Much of Me was definitely the ones that the crowd got the most involved with. And Sex was great. The song, I wouldn't know otherwise. Yeah, the song is great. It was really fun hearing the whole crowd in Chicago just saying that "No, I Don't Know How to Forget You" part over and over again as the song was fading out. It was really fun. It's one of the first ones I heard out of this album, and I really enjoy it. So it's going to go up to the top of top tier out of that list. I don't think it's quite in the Lord Have Mercy section, but it could be pretty close. It's really nice. Drugs was the very first song of his that I listened to, and I really liked it. It got me hooked on this guy, so it's going to go up into the Lord Have Mercy section, but not above Jupiter. Above Wake Up, but not above Jupiter. Next up is And. I think this one is a really underrated song of his, in all honesty. One more in the I Think You Think Too Much of Me album, I would say is really underrated, but And especially. But it's not top tier, it's enjoyable, but I'm going to put it in between Fumes and End credits. I've never really looked for it specifically, but I always enjoy it whenever I hear it. Rock and Roll is next, and I think this might be his most overrated song, going from one of the underrated to overrateds. It was, once again, like similar to one of the ones above, really fun to hear the whole crowd sing the I Ain't Scared of Living part over and over again, and I think that section really makes the song a lot better than it could be, because the chorus of it kind of misses for me, but the message in the verses, that's good. It's something everybody can relate to. But I think for me personally, it's in the forgettable part. Above Crazy in Love for sure, but it just doesn't hit for me the way it does for some other people, a lot of other people really. Next up is XO. This one has got to be in the enjoyable part for me. It's the song everybody knows of his. Even if you don't know Eden, you know this song. I mean, it's simple. It's catchy, and it's very poppy, and I'm not that into his poppy stuff as much, in my opinion. So it's enjoyable for sure, but it's above Interlude and Times Like These, but I don't think I can put it higher than Fumes. Next is Circles. This one, similar and very underrated in my opinion. So it's just gonna go right up above And. Enjoyable is really starting to take over, and that's probably going to be the case throughout a lot of this. Cruising right along, we go into Vertigo. It starts off with Wrong, which in all honesty is really forgettable. I don't really remember it that much or care for it. And same thing with Take Care. I honestly don't remember much of it. Next up though, Start and End. That one is definitely not forgettable. I remember that one. I really liked it during this period of time, and I still do like it. I don't seek it out, but it's not in the forgettable, and it's definitely not a skipper whenever I do hear it. I think I can put it above Fumes, but I don't think I'll go much higher with it. Wings is next, and I don't even remember anything about it right now. If there's songs that I have to go back to and listen to right now for me to be like, oh yeah, that's what it is. It's either forgettable or skipper. And Wings, I don't remember. Yeah, I just listened to a little bit of it, and I'm gonna have to say it's a skipper. At the top of the list, but I've never really cared for it. Icarus, definitely not a skipper. Not as good as Start End, but just beneath it. Still above Fumes. But yeah, just beneath it. Lost and Found is next. That one's a skipper. I don't really care for it. I'm gonna put that one beneath Soul even. Crash, very popular. Another one that if you don't know Eden, you probably know this song of his. And it's alright. He performed it live, and it was one of the ones that, you know, just really calms the whole audience down after something like, what's a good hype song of his? Something like Closer To, you know? Nice way to change up the mood. And it's alright. I don't seek it out though, ever, so I can't put it in top tier. And I won't lie, this is honestly sad, but I don't know whether or not to put it in enjoyable or forgettable. Because it's similar to rock and roll for me. I honestly have to say that rock and roll is a bit better, so I'm gonna put Crash just beneath it. Because it's never really one I've cared for. Honestly, just about all of Vertigo is not my favorite. Probably my least favorite of all the Eden albums out there. Gold, I don't know anything about it. Forgettable. Forever Over. This one, on the other hand, this one has to go up into the top tier. It's going to be at the bottom of top tier, but top tier. This one's performance live was fantastic, and I just feel like I can relate to it. It's a song that hits home to me, and that's what this is. This is a very subjective tier list, so it's what I like, and Forever Over just hits home for me. Next up is Float. This one's kind of weird because I never remember it, but whenever I listen to it, I'll listen to it once or twice. So it's both forgettable and quite enjoyable at the same time. So for that reason, I'm gonna put it at the very bottom of enjoyable for now. Just at the very bottom. Wonder is up next. I went through a big phase listening to this one. It's a very wintry type song for me. So it's gonna go up into enjoyable, but yeah, just beneath Icarus. And yeah, Fumes EXO is times like these better than Wonder. I'm gonna say yeah. Interlude, it's gonna stay above. It's gonna stay above Interlude. There we go. Love, Not Wrong, skipper. It's gonna go, yeah, just behind Wings. Falling in Reverse was another one I really liked for a good period of time. I'll still listen to it. I never skip it, but it's gonna go just up above Float. Not one I really care for too strongly in it one way or another. This next bunch is another one that About Time, Stutter, All You Need Is Love, and Nowhere Else is a grouping of songs that I've never really cared for. Out of the bunch, I'd have to say About Time is the best of them, so I'm gonna put it beneath the Float and enjoyable. The rest of them are gonna be in skippers and at the very bottom. Don't know what it is, never really cared for that period of time in Eden's career. This next one, on the other hand, could not say anything more differently about it. 909 is one of the best songs I've ever heard, regardless of who it's from. Straight into the very top of the tier list. Easily one of my top 5 favorite songs of his. It's so good. You have to listen to it if you haven't yet. It's not that popular from him either, which is really criminal in all honesty, because it's one of the best. We are now into No Future, which is a really good album. And also a really dense album. Just look at all of the different titles down there at the bottom. Good Morning was one of the first songs of his that I listened to. It started with Good Morning. I didn't really recognize Eden as Eden at that point. So Good Morning was one of the first ones I listened to. Then it was Drugs, then it was Wake Up, and then I started to attach like the sound to the name and got into listening to more and more stuff of his. And the vocals in Good Morning and the chord progressions are beautiful. It's so pretty. His range too is incredible. So it's gonna go into enjoyable for me, and really high up. I'm gonna put this one, I think I gotta put this one top tier. Up above Forever Over, up above Nocturne, up above Man Down. Yeah, I gotta put that one really high up in top tier, which is probably pretty surprising because there's nothing very Eden about the song. It just sounds incredible. Next up it's an interlude. I mean, you listen to it by itself and you're like, what? But you listen to it in the album and okay, there we go, makes sense. Hurts, it's alright. Better than About Time and Float, but not Falling in Reverse, I'd say. It's enjoyable, but at the very bottom end of it. I seek it out every so often, but not much. Static, interlude, Projector, even better than 909. Even better. Uh, this is gonna be the Projector is gonna be at the very top of the tier list from here on out. It is my favorite song of his. I will listen to that one on repeat over and over again. I don't know what it is about it, but Projector is his best. Yeah, obviously, like with 909, if you haven't listened to it yet, go listen to it now and don't stop listening to it. Next up is we gotta move on. Love, Death, and Distraction. It's a really good way to follow up Projector because it kind of slows it down and moves you on into the rest of the album. It's definitely an enjoyable, and I think I'm gonna put it up at the very top of it. I think I prefer it over Gravity. No Future is a bunch of songs that I really like. I really like No Future. How to Sleep is another one in the top tier. I think this has to be in the Lord Have Mercy section. I'm gonna put this one just behind 909. 909 and How to Sleep are really interchangeable for me depending on the day. Another one, gotta listen to it. You have to if you haven't yet. Calm Down is up next, and it has interlude type vibes to it, but it's not an interlude whatsoever. It definitely stands out on its own. And there's a Jeremy Zucker song that has a really similar feel to it, Brooks from Love Is Not Dying. If you haven't listened to either one of them, listen to the two of them and like see what I'm coming at if you can. I think it's gonna be in a top tier for me. I think it's better than Love, Death, Distraction. But is it better than Forever, Over, and Nocturne? I can't confidently put it there. So it's gonna be here. Just Saying is next, and it's gonna be a skipper. We'll put it here. I never look for it, never skip it when it's on. FOMO, it's a top tier one for me. Yeah, well, I'll put it right behind Good Morning in all honesty. No, I'll put it up above Good Morning. Similar to Good Morning, it has really good vocals, but it also has that Eden sound that obviously if you're a fan of his, you really like. So far, so good. This one really depends on the day. I don't think I can put it top tier, but I could definitely put it in enjoyable. Where? I'll put it just above Circles and End Credits. I think a lot of people might say that's a bit high of a placement for it, but I really like the electronic sounds of it and the way they move, the glissando to them. It's nice to me. ISO Hell, that has to be in the Lord Have Mercy section. I'm going to put this one, I'm going to put it right in between Drugs and Jupiter, because it's really good. Definitely really good. A bunch of question marks. Won't lie, I can't even think of it in my head right now, so it's just going to go at the back of Forgettable. Tides, when I heard this one, the mashup of Tides, EXO, and Drugs in concert, I was looking like that one clip of Stephen A. Smith. I've never cared for Tides until I saw it live. Seeing it live was wow. So it's not forgettable for me anymore, and it's an enjoyable. It's beneath Hurts though. Beneath Hurts and Float, and just above About Time. Rushing, it's pretty forgettable. I remember it more than the question marks one, and Gold, yeah, I'll put it just after Crazy in Love. Streams is next, and similar thing, it's a bit better in my opinion than Rushing, but don't really care for it. 2020 is enjoyable, but I think I would prefer listening to About Time or Tides over it. Out, Interlude, Untitled. This one's kind of tough for me because on its day, I really enjoy it. If it's not on its day, I'll skip it every single time. And I think it's not its day more often than it is. So I'm going to put it in skippers, but it's going to be up at the very top of it because it has its moments where it's enjoyable to me. And next up, Peaked. Another one of his that I really like. I think this has to be up at the very forefront of top tier. I don't know if it's a Lord Have Mercy song just yet, but it could get there for me. And a very similar vibe is Cold Feet, in all honesty. I'm gonna put it just after Good Morning, but yeah, it's quite similar to Peaked in my opinion. I really like the both of them, but Cold Feet's just a little bit, I can't say worse, but I prefer it a little bit less than the ones up there, obviously, because that's how the tier list works. Stingray is next, and I won't lie, this one's pretty forgettable. I enjoy it still. Do I enjoy it more than these? I'd have to say I do. I have to say I do. I'll put it just beneath Hurts and right above Float. I feel like that's fair. It's funny how Enjoyable has so many more songs than every other tier here, but the rest of it forms that nice little bell shape that it should, so it's looking good so far. Next up is A Call, and it's an interlude, in all honesty. It's just a poem of his, but I never skip it when I start the album, but if I'm listening to it just on its own, then it's, whatever. Balling, he starts, the first lyrics of the song are 19. I'm 19, so that makes it easily relatable. So, for that reason, I'm going to put it, I think it's above Calm Down. I think it's going to be in the top tier. Above these. I think that's a very good spot for Balling. Next on the album is Sci-Fi, and it's going to go just beneath Balling. I'm still ahead of Nocturne, but just beneath it. It's really good. The reggaeton beat to it is great. It's something different than what he's done before, but it hits nonetheless. Modern Warfare was probably the worst out of the three singles he released to hype up the album. It was the first one as well, and I never cared for it until the album came out, and then I was really able to fully appreciate it. I'm gonna have to put it as one of the ones at the top of skippers, just because I don't really care for it too much, but it's alright. Call Me Back is next up, and this one live was, once again, fantastic. So it's going to be at the very bottom of the Lord Have Mercy section. It really is, he said it himself in an interview, it's the heart of In Case You Missed It. And you can tell just by listening to it. Oh, wait. Okay. I went to Call Me Back too soon. I missed Waiting Room, which, Waiting Room, it's an interlude. It just leads you into Closer To, but it's still enjoyable. The way his voice starts off at a nice, like, his normal range, and then it drops lower, like, artificially. You'd think that's a bit weird, probably a little bit quirky, but the way it's pulled off is great. Closer To was how he opened the concert, and let me tell you, there's no better way to get a crowd hyped than that hard bass hitting in a really quick 4. It's in the Lord Have Mercy section. Better than Call Me Back. I'd say it's better than Wake Up, but I can't put it up above Drugs. But yeah, a lot of In Case You Missed It is really highly regarded in my opinion. I love this album. Duvidha, I think that's how you say it. It's an interlude just leading into Elsewhere, which Elsewhere, it's gonna be in the enjoyable section for sure, but where to put this one's kind of tough. I think I gotta go just in between Circles and So Far So Good. PS1 next, and this one's going to be a top tier for me, beneath Nocturne, but above Forever Over. And then lastly on the list, Reaching 2. A bit anticlimactic to end this one, but it's the most forgettable on the album for me. I'm going to put Rock and Roll and Crash up above it, but it's going to be up above Crazy in Love. So, there we go, that's my list. If there are any songs that I'd say you have to listen to, Projector, 909, and How to Sleep are the ones that are must listens to if you haven't heard of this guy, or if you have and just need something to go look back on. Obviously, this is very subjective, it's my opinion, and if you disagree, let me know what you change and where you put what. But that's gonna be it for now. Thanks for watching this far. See you whenever I make something new again. See ya.